third quarterback rule returns with a twist. The NFL brought back a rule that allows teams to carry an active third quarterback on game day without having him count against the NFL imposed roster limit. But there are new stipulations that will likely limit the use of this option. The third quarterback must be part of the team's 53-man roster. He can't be promoted from the practice squad via a standard elevation for that role, and the third quarterback can enter the game only if the top two are injured, and he must be removed if either of them are cleared to play by medical officials. The referee is charged with keeping track of whether the third quarterback is eligible to play. Okay, I get the rule and I understand, but why is the referee the one that's charged with keeping track of whether or not the quarterback is eligible to play? Nobody else is, huh? Just the referee. Interesting. All right. As a result, only 12 of the league's 32 teams kept three quarterbacks on their initial 53-man rosters last week. Owners approved the rule largely because the 49ers ran out of healthy quarterbacks while losing the 22 NFC Championship game, and its language makes the rule best viewed as reinforcement for must-win situations. Wow, so you mean to tell me they made another change for a team because they lost in the championships? Wow. How interesting is that? So it was the Bills with the overtime thing, and now it's the 49ers because of the injuries and the quarterbacks? Okay. Just change stuff on the fly. A lengthy Q&A distributed this week by the league uses the phrase bona fide 5 times to describe eligibility requirements for this rule, a warning to teams who might look for a way to manipulate their game day rosters. The memo also closes a loophole some teams may have been contemplating, putting their third quarterback on the 53-man roster but keeping their number 2 quarterback on the practice squad. Both the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks must be part of the 53-man roster in order for the number 3 quarterback to be eligible to enable utilization of the game day roster exemption. So there you go. Michael says, let the coach put in the best guy who can go. Yeah, they're not going for that. Sue says, what do you think about the Bucs this year? Should we start Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield? Listen, I've been a huge advocate for Kyle Trask, but a lot of people were mad at me about it and, saying that Baker Mayfield should be the man up because he has the experience and he's a veteran and all this other stuff. I'm like, hey, give Kyle Trask a chance. That man sent her to Tom Brady. He has the rights to the team. He's been on that bench. He's sat there. He's played with these guys already. He should already have the chemistry. And I do think that if Baker doesn't prove himself by week 3, we will see Kyle Trask out there. Tennessee Tactical, what up, man? Says, let's give the Zebras more to do. Yeah, you know, Shante says this rule doesn't make sense. Sheila says, referees missed a lot of calls last night. They missed a lot of calls. A lot of calls at that offensive line that they missed. They let them play, as they say. They let them play. Next rule is going to be flex. I told you guys I took this medicine, so it's got me all loopy. Flex options for Monday, Thursday night games. As part of its new broadcast deals, the league granted flex options in weeks 12 through 17 for Monday Night Football through ESPN and ABC, and weeks 13 through 17 for Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. The flex schedule for Sunday Night Football remains in place as well for NBC. Some of you may have to worry about this, and some of you won't, but either way, I got you guys covered because I've already got all this. I've got ESPN, I've got the locals, I've got Prime, I've got it all for you guys, so we won't miss out on anything as long, obviously, if you're rocking with me. But for some of you who don't have this, you need to know this because this changes things as far as what you're probably going to watch. So I figure you guys needed to know. So it goes on to continue to say, in other words, the NFL can move out of bad late season matchups and move in more attractive games, which is what they should have did last year. There was no reason for us watching the Commanders I'm not hating, I'm just saying. It's just a reality. There was no reason why we were sitting there watching Broncos games and Commanders games during prime time. We could have been watching something else that was scheduled at 4 o'clock last year that was so stupid. I hated it. And you guys hated it too. So I guess it's a good thing. To that end, the NFL will give teams at least 12 days notice for Monday night flex changes, and after some owners push back on the idea of flexing games to Thursday night, the league extends its minimum to 28 days. As a result, league officials have emphasized flexing a Thursday night game is likely to be a rare event. Brian Rolop, the NFL's chief media and business officer, said in May that Thursday's night flexes are not something we expect to be commonplace. And in a first, the NFL will host a game on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday at 3 p.m. to extend its grip on the holiday weekend. The Dolphins will play at the New York Jets in a game streamed on Amazon Prime. So that'll be on Black Friday. As far as Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen, I'm letting you know now, I'm actually going to be cooking with family that day, so I will not be streaming that day. But I will be back Friday. So we'll get whatever Friday's game is, we'll get that game in. But Thursday, it's going to be me cooking and sitting behind the screen for once and not in front of the camera. Or in front of the screen once and not in front of the camera. So, yeah, Thanksgiving was one of my favorite holidays. And I'm going to be cooking this year, and I'm excited about it. Definitely excited about it. All right, so next up, it's going to be fair catches on kickoffs inside the 25 are marked at the 25. You guys already know this, but we'll get into it. The NFL has tapped what might be its last option for reducing concussions with its current kickoff structure for 2023 only. Owners approved a rule that incentivizes kick returners to call for a fair catch rather than bring the ball back in certain situations. The rule could render moot the pop-up kicks coaches increasingly have employed in an attempt to hand opponents poor field position. In the past 2 seasons, such kicks have increased by 23% compared to the previous 8-year average. The surge is the primary reason NFL officials believe concussions have returned to unacceptably high levels on the play. So there you go. Shout out to Patty Hassat. What's up, Patty? How you doing tonight? Jeff King said, Hoodie J. Yeah, man. Yeah. Tyler says, you need to rest that voice, bro. Yeah, man, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, without a doubt. Lucky Larry says, respect for fighting through the ills for your viewers. Man, listen, you guys know I love y'all. I gotta bring y'all the news. I gotta bring y'all the updates at all cost. But tomorrow I'm taking a rest because I gotta be ready for Sunday. So tomorrow's my rest day. I'm already on the meds. I'm already on the vitamins, the hot tea, all that stuff. I'm ready to go there. So tomorrow, like I said, I'm getting the rest. I should be fully ready to go. And then Sunday, we're in it. Sunday, 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock. 3 games Sundays. You guys know how we do over here. All right. Next rule is going to be use of number 0 is now permitted. 0 is now a jersey option for all positions except offensive and defensive linemen as the league continues an effort to ensure there are enough eligible numbers for all teams. As of last week, 20 NFL players had taken 0, including Jacksonville Jaguars, receiver Calvin Ridley, Baltimore Ravens linebacker Roquan Smith, and Jets safety Adrian Amos. All told, according to ESPN stats and information, there were 9 linebackers, 5 receivers, 3 cornerbacks, 2 safeties, and 1 running back assigned to number 0 when initial 53-man rosters were formed. So there you go. Door open for expansion of quarterback push sneaks. The competition committee extensively reviewed a play the Philadelphia Eagles utilized often on their run to the Super Bowl last season. The strategy calls for one or more teammates in the backfield to push the quarterback past the line to gain or into the end zone on planned sneaks. It was perfectly legal under NFL rules, which prohibit pulling teammates but not pushing them, but it reminded critics of rugby. I'm not going to play this, but you guys should remember this play that happened. Obviously, it was a quarterback sneak. Jalen Hurts had help by being pushed, which makes it a little easier to get that yard that you need if you're trying to score on the goal line. But there was no consensus on whether to curb or outlaw the approach, which the Eagles used to supplement quarterback Jalen Hurts' already strong rushing skills, and there is a pretty strong expectation that it will proliferate in 2023. The league's internal data revenue revealed 90 such plays across the league last season with an 84% success rate. Pay attention to that number, 84% success rate. So now you know you're going to see somebody getting pushed behind that line for a yard or 2. There you go. Next one is going to be tripping is a personal foul. An elevation and subtle tripping techniques, which we actually seen this last night, I think. We seen a tripping last night, I think. Oh, no, it was preseason. We seen a bunch of tripping preseason. I think they were trying to test it out. An elevation and subtle tripping techniques and some difficulty in identifying them via real-time officiating led the NFL to reclassify it as a personal foul and thus shift the on-field penalty from 10 to 15 yards. So they're adding 5 yards now for tripping. Making it a point of clarification means officials have been asked to look closely for such infractions, and it's also a warning that players will be subject to fines and potential suspension if no flag is thrown during the game. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me if the refs don't catch it, you can be fined and be suspended? What? Let me read this again. Making it a point of clarification means officials have been asked to look closely for such infractions, and it's also a warning that players will be subject to fines and potential suspensions if no flag is thrown during the game. So that means they can roll the tape back, even though they didn't throw a flag, and you can now get suspended for tripping or have to pay a fine? Oof. All right. It says there was a total of 12 flags thrown last season for tripping, a bit higher than the average of 9.2 per season from 2010 to 21, and it's fair to expect an uptick in the 23 season. Next rule is going to be use of helmet rule altered. Established in 2018 to reduce the type of contact that frequently causes concussions, this rule has proved nearly impossible to officiate. As a result, the league has largely relied on warning letters and fines issued after the game to enforce the rule, which originally prohibited a player from lowering his helmet to initiate contact with an opponent, and in rare instances where it is penalized in a game, the NFL has instructed officials to refer to the infraction generally as unnecessary roughness. I respect this because, yeah, it's really difficult to tell unless it's like super noticeable and they're going way out their way to do it. It's really hard to tell if someone's lowering their helmet before they hit. You know, these guys are moving very fast, and these refs, they're not catching half of what they need to. So I can definitely see where this will become an issue. Continues on saying, over the ensuing 5 years, the league has issued an average of 194 warning letters and fines per season. What? 191 warning letters and fines per season. And a sign of the difficulty in changing this particular behavior sets a record of 229 in 2022. But even post-game discipline has proved problematic, as players have successfully appealed roughly 1/3 of the fines by arguing the helmet contact was incidental rather than overt attempt to initiate. Like I just said, it's very hard to tell the difference. Unless they're going way out of their way, this is probably an easy fight for the players because they're like, listen, I was running. I was going fast, man. I was in motion. I didn't mean to do it. Prove it was my intent that I meant to lower my helmet. I'm not paying it. And then they get out of it. The fines are significant. $21,855 for a first offense and $43,709 for a second, as Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Quan Alexander found out during the preseason. Wow. $43,000 for 2 offenses? Boys better keep them helmets up, yo. That's the price of a Toyota Camry right now. Shout out to inflation. My goodness. All right. Next one is automatic review for failed fourth downs. Automatic review for failed fourth downs. Instead of jumping ahead on proposals to make all plays eligible for replay review or employing a sky judge, the NFL has embraced a slow addition of applicable circumstances. Quick shout out to Darla Eulery for subscribing. Thanks a lot, Darla. Welcome to the channel. Failed fourth downs are the latest supplement of the list of automatic reviews that don't require a coach's challenge. The league takes comfort in this approach because it has managed to decrease official reviews by 28% over the past 2 seasons, and in turn drop its average time of the game. The decline in reviews is due largely to the replay assist program established in 21 that allows replay officials to jump in quickly to correct or confirm rulings without going to formal review. I mean, this is pretty standard, right? With the technology that the NFL has now and all the eyes that are on the field, it should be very easy to replay or review the fourth down. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, hey, there you go. No review for roughing the passer. So that means if it happens and they call it, it happened. That's it. NFL teams set a non-strike season record in 2022 by using 68 different starting quarterbacks, according to ESPN Stats and Information, amid season-long concern for the health of Miami Dolphins passer Tua Tagovailoa. A subsequent series of questionable flags for roughing the passer renewed calls for making the penalty reviewable in replay, but owners never came close to making such a dramatic rule change. Ultimately, roughing the passer penalties dropped 38.6% in 22 from 21, largely because of a point of clarification to avoid flags for incidental contact. But that didn't apply to what is currently the most controversial aspect of roughing the passer, the prohibition against the NFL rulebook. Prohibition against what the NFL rulebook describes as unnecessary or violently throwing down the quarterback or landing on top of him with all or most of the defender's weight. Now listen, this is where I question the NFL. All right. I totally get that we need to protect our quarterbacks and we need to make sure that these guys are safe and they're not getting destroyed back there. But what do you consider violently? Right? If you don't want these guys tackling each other, just give them flags. And then we won't watch it anymore because it'll be flag football. Just like the Pro Bowl. Those ratings tanked. And I'll be surprised if we see flag football ever again in the Pro Bowl. But yeah, I mean, what are you considering to be unnecessarily or violently? And then throwing down the quarterback or landing on top of him with all your weight. What if you're in motion and you can't help it? Is that a flag? Do you get fined for it? It sucks, but that's just the reality of it. Shout out to Michelle. What up, Michelle? Wrench Gang in the house. What's up, Shelby? What's going on with you tonight? Hope you guys are having a great Friday. One referee who was involved in several debatable body weight calls, Jerome Booger, retired in the offseason. Otherwise, the only new guidance the NFL has given teams is to coach defenders to avoid approaching a quarterback down the middle. Instead, they should approach the side to minimize the chances of landing on the quarterback and getting penalized. So now I have to alter the way that I speed and run and tackle the quarterback to appease this rule and hope I don't put all my weight on him. Changes.